Yes, and we are hopefully live. This is the first time I'm actually hosting this show, first and fifth, the Swedish edition. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
With me today, I have two guys from the very well established team Uppsala 86ers, and also two former members of the flag football committee, I think. Sundi, you served on that for 1 or 2 years, right?
Well, that's
Eric,
the
Eric,
excessive
Eric and
count.
me
I think I was
go
there for 4 months.
okay. Over the span of 2 years or over 1 year.
No, just the 1 year.
And I think Eric, you and me served on that committee from 2016, 2017, I think.
Yeah, I was there like 1 or 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is the show about Swedish flag football, and since very few people actually know the history of Swedish flag football, I thought that we would start with a little bit of history. So, the best lesson in school, history. Let's go. So, the first Swedish championship was in 2010, which was won by Limhamn Griffins. Actually, I did not know that before I looked this up. In 2011, it was Vasastan FF. In 2012, also Vasastan FF. 2013, it was Northside Bulls, which is kind of funny because they are making a comeback this year, but under a different name, AIK. I think they rebranded themselves. So that's going to be fun, right?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see them, how they look. There's obviously going to be new players, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and one old player, or so I've heard.
So it's a tackle team coming in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always interesting when they go over.
I think old number 74 is going to play. So I think you, Eric, you know who that is. Yeah.
He actually played tackle with my dad back in the day. So.
And now you made him feel very old. And then in 2014, it was the Norrköping Monarchs. And from 2015 up until today, there's the 86ers. So you guys have been dominated from 2015. How come?
How come we won this year?
Let me take this one. You see, I started playing in 2015.
Well, that's not the reason, though.
No, it's fine.
Like we in Uppsala, we started like earlier than every other team here in Sweden, and we basically were the national team. So when we played like our camps with the national team and everything, we went abroad and played games. So we got a lot of experience, unlike the other Swedish team that didn't have any presence in the national team, while we had like 9 players from our team being in the national team, getting all this experience. So I think that's why we have had the step ahead for the last 6 years. So I think that's the main reason.
Yeah, but some of those old players have actually gone on to do other things in life. So you have a few new guys that have stepped up to the place. I mean, you had one guy last year that I think he played 2 years ago, but he didn't get much playing time. Hope I say this name correctly, Matas Menkis or something.
Yeah. He comes from tackle. He played like, I don't know how long he's been playing tackle, but he came 2 years ago. He was kind of hurt, and we had the position he was fit for was slot receiver, which Marcus Darberg had a clench on. But when Marcus retired, Matas could easily step in to that position and fill it, and actually do other kinds of stuff than Marcus did. previously,
Yeah.
which forced us and the other teams to adjust to it. So
Yeah. That was a real shame. Not only that Marcus actually retired, but in the end we actually started to pick up how to cover him, and
yeah,
then he quits.
yeah, exactly.
That's just bad manner in my opinion. But
Yeah, but the experience from myself and Sundi and every other player that has been in the national team for a very long time took that experience and taught the other new players, and they have
yeah,
really taken that information and knowledge and applied it to their own game.
yeah. So I thought we were going to talk a little bit about how the Swedish league is set and how it has been set. I think that before 2015, there wasn't really any actual league. It was just a championship day or weekend or something. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had. I started playing in 2013, so the first 2013 we had a weekend where we played a lot of games, uh, and then 2014 we did the same. I think it was 2015 we actually had a series of matches, like over the span of two months or something like that. So that
Yeah.
was big start for flag football in Sweden.
If I remember correctly, 2015 there were 4 teams in the league, but there was only 3 teams that could actually make it to the national championship day. I think the Monarchs uh, couldn't play that year. Or I think it was something because there was only 3 teams there that year because that was the first time I uh, saw it.
Yeah, that is correct. I think they had some players injured or something like that,
Yeah,
so they didn't actually come up. So I think we Uppsala did automatically play in the finals, and Eskilstuna and I think it was Stockholm or something like that
yeah,
played.
it was Northside Bulls that year,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
Northside Bull actually used Marcus Augebrink as a player in that game
yeah,
because they had a very tiny roster,
yeah.
and I remember that. Uh, I mean, those days were fun, but since that, I think there's a bit more seriousness to it. And if I remember correctly, that came from the federation, who, if we were going to have a national team, we needed to have a regular league in place. I remember you and me, Eric. We were in on trying to organize that, and uh, I remember 2016 there was a few more teams uh, in it.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly.
we had I think 7 or 8 teams back in
I,
2016.
I think it was 7 teams because you guys had a bye in the quarterfinals that year.
Yeah,
Uh,
Yeah, that's right.
I remember that because it was a warm day in Norrköping, and in the semifinals we had to play overtime against the
yeah,
Monarchs. That was probably one of the best games I've ever seen on Swedish soil. Really, when it comes to matchups and all that and tightness. The final that year, not so much.
no, we had complete control over that game, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that was the
Well,
first year
well,
we
well,
had
well,
SM
well,
Veckan as well as
yeah,
a
yeah,
venue,
exactly. Yeah,
uh,
Yeah.
it was like
which is
3 years. Yeah, exactly. Explain.
for those who don't know, SM Veckan is like the equivalent of the Swedish Olympics. They have a ton of sports who have their finals on the same day or in the same place over a
Yeah.
weekend, and then it's all on TV and stuff.
Yeah,
So it's a weekend in the summer, and that was the first year we was part of that.
yeah,
And it includes like arrow, what's called archery. It was like RC cars. It had
yeah,
a low. Every sport you could have think of, like frisbee golf, was included in this. So
yeah,
it is a huge event for like summer sports in Sweden.
yeah. Water polo, kayaking,
Yeah,
uh, a bunch of sports. Really fun. I kind of like being a part of it, but if I remember correctly, we had some issues getting the schedule correct for it because it's like in the middle of summer and we couldn't have a fall season, which we wanted to. So
Exactly. Like they forced us to play our finals in early June, which made our season 2 months long. But we wanted to, if we wanted the flag to grow in Sweden, we had to like make people
yeah,
practice and grow their teams. But you can't stay motivated if you have 2 months to look forward to and 10 months of off season.
yeah,
That doesn't grow anything. So basically, we I think 2018 was the last time we were in SM-veckan and
yeah,
started
yeah,
to do our own
yeah,
finals event.
yeah. Yeah, from 2019 and 2020, it's been in Uppsala. Uh,
Yeah.
remember. I got a message here from Marcus, who's watching. Get well soon. I heard today that he is down with COVID, so uh, cheer up, buddy. He said that in 2019, the championship was in Lidingö. In 2010, it was in Karlstad. In 2011, it was in Uppsala. 2012 in Norrköping. 2013 in Solna, and 2014 in Eskilstuna. And he also said that there was 5 teams back in the 2015 year, uh, but 3 teams in the final. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think we have the encyclopedia of Swedish flag football in the chat, which is pretty good. Uh, I actually hope that we can have him on here someday and talk about referees in Sweden, among other things. Which is another topic. It's going to get a real boost this year, which I think is fun. But we can talk about that later. Um, so the Swedish season. How many teams would you say are regular in the Swedish league at the moment?
You'd have to go 6, right? Because AIK is the new one. But
Yeah.
other than that, it's Nässjö, who were new last year, but they're quite well established at this point.
Yeah.
You got Marvels, who are built on a structure of people who've been around for a while, but obviously a lot of new guys. And then you got Sharks, been around forever. You got Ale, who's been around for a long while now. It's like 6 years or something. You got us, who've been around. Uppsala, been around for ages. And then you got Stockholm Mean Machines, who are used to be called Berg Cavaliers, but they've joined those organizations together. And Mean Machines got a strong back structure in tackle, having won championships and stuff recently. So you'd say 6, and then AIK is a bit of unknown. We don't know much about them, who's playing and so on, except for one guy. But other than that, I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And that's the top league only. So we have a Division 2 like structure as well.
Yeah.
So up here in the north of Stockholm, we don't have that many U teams, we call them here in Sweden. But down south there's like 4 or 5 of them, which is really, really, really cool to see that they are like starting up and trying to practice and get good.
Yeah. And also, you got to give props to the regional organization down in South who have helped a lot of teams get into the sport. Christopher, big shout out to you for actually doing that work.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, you could say we have a Premiership and a Leisure division, or I don't really know what to call it. Division 2 sounds so.
It's like a developmental league, basically.
Yeah. That's the best word for it. So, yeah. But there have been a few teams that have come and went, so to say. We've had the Avesta Bisons. That was I don't want to call it if it was a project because they actually became a really good organization. Uh,
It
but
started out as like an integration project for a lot of
yeah,
these
exactly.
refugees, and then they obviously developed that into like a full team.
Yeah,
But it was started as an effort to get these kids into like sports and Swedish organizational structure and
yeah,
stuff. And then obviously it grew from there. And then they've merged now with Dahlia Car. Is that right? That team. I read something about that on Instagram.
yeah. The Lecarlia Rebels. It's a team. I think they're now based in. Ooh, is it Borlänge or Falun? Uh, so that's going to be interesting to see. And I remember the Rebels played the divisional uh, championship or whatever you want to call it that we had not last fall, but the fall before that. I
Yeah,
think you got
district championships.
the district championships. So yeah, uh, I don't know if they have they are they going to play in the development league this year?
They weren't announced when they announced, because what they did was they announced the teams for the north part, but not the south part. So I don't know if they're going to be. There's this team called Jämtland Republicans. I don't know if they're going to be part of that structure or how they're going
Okay,
to
okay,
organize it. But there's one team there that I'm not that familiar with that might be taking some of their players on board.
okay. Well, there's a long distance between Jämtland and Falun though. So,
Yeah.
but
True.
yeah, but we play the Swedish league. We don't really know when it's going to start. We had a little discussion about it, and I know you guys. Maybe we should say that you guys have a podcast in Swedish with two other awesome dudes. Uh, uh, but this is in English, so we try to expand this. But and I know you guys talked about when the league should start. Uh, so when is the league gonna start? Do we know anything about that?
We don't have any set dates as of now. We have basically no information other than it isn't now.
Yeah,
But we assume the league is gonna look like it did last year, with the uncertainty of COVID happening.
yeah,
So with the assumption that it's gonna look like last year, we're going to start somewhere in the middle of August, and then move on and play the finals at the end of September or
yeah,
early October. Um, and we're not gonna play double meetings. We're just gonna go single meetings in the series, and then move on to the playoffs. Uh,
yeah,
so
Yeah. So from what we've
I hope.
heard, right, it's 6 weeks is what they've said. From whenever our governing bodies decide that we can start playing, the teams have announced that they need 6 weeks to prep, to get in physical shape to play and stuff. So assuming that 6 weeks from now it's in the middle of July, which I don't
yeah,
think is very likely for a season start. So as you said, I think August, and then a similar structure to last year. We played August until end of September. It was supposed to end in October, but they moved it. So I don't know if they keep that structure, the old one, or if they try to squeeze it all in before the end of October. Because you got World Championships comes up as well, so they
yeah,
want to give the national team time to get set. They probably want to end it in September.
yeah. But a huge disclaimer on this because this is basically just what we think and what would be the obviously the best way to solve it according to us. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the league should start mid August, which would be after Sportmunda Bowl. I think it would
Yeah.
be pretty good because
Yeah.
then teams can that are going there. There's a ton of Swedish teams going to Sportmunda Bowl this year, as always. Uh, I think it's almost one. I think almost one year there was. Uh, I think we're 8 Swedish teams or something going there. I heard one team dropped off, so I don't know how it looks now. But as you guys mentioned before, the Uppsala 86ers were early in going to, especially Denmark, to play these. It's called Sportmunda Bowl now. don't remember what it was called before that. Yeah,
I don't remember.
yeah,
I only
I think
remember it as Sports Monday.
I attended like the first Sport Munda before it became Sport Munda.
yeah,
I don't remember what it was called though.
yeah. I remember when we were going there with two Swedish elite teams. I guess you could call it. Was divided between the I think the Uppsala 86ers went as team one, and a mix of other Swedish national team contenders in team number two. And I remember when we went out to the field, we were there 2 hours before the tournament started. We were warming up, we were doing running and stretching, and there was no one else there. I think you were also there, Eric. I don't
Yeah,
know if you remember the same thing as I remember.
yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
Like we had our warm ups, we had our stretches, we had our
yeah,
walkthroughs and everything like that, and then these players come up, they stretch a bit, and then they go into the game, right? So
yeah.
it was like, all right,
Yeah, I remember one team that we were playing. They were, I think, there were four guys on the field, and I was like, where the heck is the fifth player? Then I see a guy coming on a bike with a trench coat on, and he just drops the bike, drops the trench coat, does a little bit of stretching for like 15 seconds, and then he goes in on the field. And I said, hey, if they're not more serious than this, we're gonna beat them. And I think we lost with about 20 points or something.
yeah,
Which brings me to my kind of my next point. Uh, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but one of the biggest issues or problems for Swedish teams is the lack of competition. Do you guys agree?
You
And
want to expand on that? What do you mean by competition?
with competition, I mean, let's say we have a league with 5 teams. You play 4 different opponents if you only play in the Swedish league. There's kind of hard to develop. You don't face as much other different play styles, and as Eric said before, you guys learn a lot from playing other nationalities. uh, that's what I mean with the lack of competition and the short season and all that.
And I
yeah,
think the biggest problem we've had is just the quality is so scattered. You get these great teams, like you get these finals where you play Alle in 2018, or you play you guys last year, and
Yeah,
it's really close and it's really hotly contested. And then you can go to this game weekends where you aren't that up. But I guess that's what it sounds like. It's the situation in most countries. But I think that unevenness, and then you got those teams that you know are good, but you're so tailored to playing that team and that specific player you're lined up against that when you go play it internationally, you don't know anything about anyone. And then it's like playing a clean book, which means you facing different coverages, different ways of playing. So I think the problem I've experienced is that, all right, but I'm playing this guy. I've played him for 6 years. I know this is a good team, but he knows what I'm doing. So it's constantly moves and counter moves, but that leaves it. You don't really develop an all around style. You develop single matchups against certain teams, which means
yeah,
you don't really get that good universal team that can go off and run a rampage on a tournament.
yeah. It's basically just mind games at like the end, because we played each other like Eskilstuna Sharks and us has played for so many years, and we know each other inside out, and we
yeah,
know they know how I play, they know how Sendiata plays, and we know how they use their players.
yeah,
So everything ends in like mind games, trying to trick each other. But I don't think the problem here in Sweden is the level of play that it is low. I mean, I think the problem mainly is the distance between teams. Like if we want to play a practice game against Alle, that's like a 5-6 hour drive for us,
yeah,
and that's nothing you plan like 1 month ahead. You plan those ahead 2-3 months ahead.
That's
Uh,
infuriating when you hear other podcasts go, "Oh yeah, we have to go
yeah,
2 hours to go play
yeah.
whomever." And you
And
go,
then
"All right,
what about that? That's our closest team, like 2 hours away.
Yeah.
That's our closest team.
Yeah.
So I think that's our Sweden's main problem. Like we don't get enough games, so we can't develop our strategies
Yeah.
and play regularly. I think Denmark has a lot of um, what do you say?
they got
Um,
teams in and around Copenhagen,
yeah,
like four
exactly.
primary teams, really."
And they have to travel like at tops 1 hour to play a game, so they can dish out like 100 games in a year, while we have to expand that for over like 5-6 years to even reach 100 games. So
Yeah.
so I,
I remember
I it's all about
when was
repetition.
I remember that 2020 when we were talking to Julian, Julian from Hornets, and he was like, "Oh yeah, when you got to take these long trips because they obviously they live in Scotland and then they have to play inland or in England." And he goes, "Oh yeah, it's like this 2 hour drive there and 2 hour drive back." And you go, "All right, yeah, tremendous."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
how about a
5 hours.
6 hour drive, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah. We sometimes go 6 hours for 2 games,
Yeah.
Mm.
which I know you guys did in 2020. You went to Gothenburg.
Yeah,
Played
yeah. Last year we played one game in Gothenburg because Avesta left the series. Like for the last game, they had so many injuries, so they couldn't play, and we were supposed to play them in Gothenburg.
Yeah.
So when we got there, we played one game and went home. So like travel time, it was say 13 hours for one game in total. So yeah. I mean, you can't do anything about it. But I think that's the like main reason why the level of play is what it is.
So
I think
basically,
Benny said the same in a previous podcast that it's really far, and they really improved by going to these international tournaments and playing games, and that's how they really improved. And that's like have been our philosophy as well here in Uppsala, that we want to go outside and we want to compete and we want to learn, because every time we go international, like in international tournaments, we learn so much and we bring that home to our playing playbook. Like the mass flag played in Flag New Year, and we took that concept with the double QB and was like, oh, we can use that with our players. That should be working. And like 3 games into the series in Sweden, like 2 other teams had picked that strat like play up. So like, we can take stuff and take it to Sweden and play with it and develop the rest of the teams with it. So
it's like we're explorers. We're bringing out plays for the general consumption. We've
Yeah.
increased the quality of life. We brought out wine.
We go to England, right, and we bring back tea. It's like, ooh, tea.
so why aren't there any international tournaments in Sweden?
I think
I'm so interested in your answer in this area, because I think my answer is because really, I think only 2 teams could host it if it given, because I think you need to have a certain level of international recognition if you want to host it and get teams to come. And I only think us and Eskilstuna have that in combination with the will and the infrastructure to do it. But I think also if, let's say, Uppsala was actually placed in Malmö, so we were closer to everywhere, I think that would make a difference too. Because if you want to make it here from anywhere, it's a flight or it's a really long drive. Even for the Danish teams, it's a really long drive. It's like a 7-hour drive. So I think you need the recognition, and then you need the infrastructure, and then you need to be reasonably close for people wanting to travel.
Yeah. And also the reason we in Sweden doesn't have international tournaments is because we have expanded our season to be so long. I mean, we play a game and we have, say, 2 weekends free, and then we have a game week again, and then it keeps on going like that. So it's really hard to like squeeze international tournament in with like all the preparations and all the like structure you need for an international tournament. And also I've gathered, or like what I can feel when I talk to other teams, is that they don't want to go to a tournament where other Swedish teams are, because they don't want to expose their plays, or for some tournaments that they don't deem important enough. So I think that's the main reason.
I think also because the
Schedule
weather
wise.
is just shit. No
Yeah,
offense.
that too.
But we can host games for a couple of months a year. Whereas if we're trying to host a tournament in October, it's you gotta be if you want to play frigid, then that's gonna be perfect. But other than that, I don't think it's gonna be what you want to do. I think we've lost Jimmy now.
Yeah.
It's turned into an entirely 86ers podcast just now. We could say whatever we want.
Well,
Just go ape.
it's the FFP, but in English, right? Oh, he's back.
Yeah.
Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I experienced some sort of internet crisis here. Not that common in Sweden, but it rarely happens, and now it happened to me. But yeah, international tournaments, not a good thing in Sweden, apparently. That was the last thing I heard.
Because we got guaranteed good weather for 2 months. Like I realize other places have boring weather as well, but our weather is just astoundingly bad, especially when you get this far up north. We haven't had stable weather yet, and summer is like 6 days away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of it, but I think we weren't that experienced in hosting like large tournaments either. I know Malmö wanted to do a large tournament, but it was in the middle of the season, so it's hard for especially us with like families and stuff that want to like travel each week to tournaments and play games. So like scheduling wise, it is a problem since the weather up here isn't good for that long.
Yeah. So how about indoor tournaments in the winter?
Yeah,
Could
I'm
do
all
that,
for
but
it.
I think the problem there is locale, because we've only got so many places you can be. I think in Uppsala, if you were to take that as an example, we got one indoor field, right, with grass,
Yeah, one.
AstroTurf, and then getting that set for like a full weekend is a tricky one, I think.
Yeah.
I
Like
think maybe
it's
that's
so
more
booked.
viable than the other one, than
Yeah,
doing it during the
it
summer.
it's so booked. Like since at least here in Uppsala, we have one pitch that is indoors, and it's so booked that even we as a team doesn't get any like practice times in the winter because it's so overbooked. Because they assign every like sports team or what do you say, sports body one time, and Uppsala 86 prioritizes that time for the tackle men's tackle team. So like the best we did that, we had a time given to us like 10:30 p.m. like until 12 or 11:30 wasn't even.
Yeah, it was 11:30, I think. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like
11:30 at night. And we did that for 2 years, but it's really like draining to practice at those times. But we did our best because we had to prepare for Flag New Year, right? So we had to.
Yeah, and half the team lives in Stockholm as well, so you got an hour drive
Yeah.
after that. So people are home at like 2 in the night when you've had practice. So.
Yeah, I think the problem with indoor facilities here in Sweden is that there are some that are privately owned, but most of them are owned by the commune. I don't really know how to translate
municipality.
Municipality, and they have to assign it to different sports and different teams, and you get times depending on how elite you are in your specific sport. Uh, I remember us, Eskilstuna Sharks here. We got a pretty good spot, a time slot in our facilities, but that's because we're the only team in the organization. So we got it like on Sundays from 7 to 9 or something like that, which is a kind of a sweet
Yeah,
time slot. But I think there are like two or three that are privately owned that you could actually book, but they are also way
those are
expensive.
pricey. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember we booked those for the national team a few times.
mm,
Uh,
I think it's
but yeah,
stunning the situation, given the climate. You'd think there'd be more facilities. People have this mentality that being outdoor is great when it's not the weather for it.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not gonna rage about the weather anymore, but it stinks.
I think the problem
yeah,
is like here in Sweden, the government bodies like they don't allow like free building, so they have to have a say in what is built
yeah,
or not built. So I think like indoor fields is a very very low priority, especially here in Uppsala where there's I, I wouldn't say a living crisis, but it's really hard for like new students that come
yeah,
outside of Uppsala and try to come here to study. It's really hard to find a place to live here.
yeah. All right. So, what's the situation right now in Sweden? Let's go to the uh, your club. How's your situation right now? I mean, I know Uppsala has been on a personal lockdown for a few months.
Yeah, we were in the lockdown for a month now. It just got revoked last Monday, so we are free to go outside at least.
Yeah,
But as of I think it was Tuesday, SAF went from a maximum of 8 players to 20 players on a practice.
yeah,
So now we can actually start to practice for real with an
yeah.
offense and a defense. Previously, we just did like footwork and one-on-ones and like
And we
basic
and we
routes and
are
stuff like that.
we are allowed contact now, right?
Yeah, now we are allowed contact. Like previously, we didn't have any contact at all until
Yeah,
up until like this decision that happened on Tuesday. So it really makes it easier for us to practice.
yeah. But it's not easy when you don't get any indoor facilities that are good, really.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
now it's fine. Now it's fine.
It's
Out,
starting to
out,
look up. Yeah, it's
outdoors.
summer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean we had practices in February, so it was cold. You just had to gear up for it.
yeah,
I remember having a practice in a full coat and gloves, like not just wide receiver gloves, but actual gloves. And then someone screaming "No days off" because Belichick had screamed that at the
Yeah,
parade, and it was snow, and it felt like it was minus whatever.
yeah, it was
Uh,
fun practice. I think that was like our preparation practice for Flag New Year or something like that.
yeah, you're right. It was, yeah.
Yeah,
It's one of those as well, because obviously, if you don't live here, you might not know, but the sun in the winter goes down at like 2:45. You
yeah,
get
really
solid
early.
6 hours sun. Um, so you
unless it
play,
snows, then
Yeah,
you don't get any sun.
yeah, true. But so we play with these spotlights, but for some reason we didn't have the proper keys or whatever to put the spotlight on. So you get a certain amount of time with light, and then it's just dark.
yeah, complete
So
darkness.
it takes a while, and then you get used to whatever the darkness is. But yeah, it's good prep work. That's how you get in shape for big tournaments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Speaking of big tournaments, it was announced a few months ago a few months ago that the World Championship was going to be held in Israel in 2021 December. I think it was moved from a different location. I think it was supposed to be in Spain somewheres. Before that,
Yeah, I
Denmark.
was thinking Magaluf, and then they changed
Yeah.
it to Israel.
So, how do you think the situation is going to be with the World Championship? Is it who's going to be the team to look for, so to say?
Well, obviously the Americans.
That's
But
such a
if we,
boring answer, though.
but
I mean,
that's like saying, who's Muhammad Ali's fighting? Who are you looking for? I'm looking for Muhammad Ali.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true. That's true.
especially when I mean they are coming to Sport Munda, so just watching them play is
Yeah,
gonna be like in a way different speed than we are used to.
yeah,
And I remember we played them back in the World Championship in Italy 2014. That was my first championship as a like national team's rookie. And I mean they had some really really good athletes, like 2-3 times better than us. So and they play when they're young, so they have played for many years. So they live and breathe football, right?
We could
And
tell that when we looked at Flag in New Year, when those mass flag kids just ran rampage. They were running that Nick Foles, Philly,
yeah,
and the round double catch play, and they're like 11. You go, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I hadn't seen American football when I was 11.
yeah,
Yeah, but they're on a different level. I mean, and obviously Denmark, they have had really good results. But what I've heard, like the rumor, is that a lot of those players that have been in the national team in Denmark has retired or stepped down from the national team. So it's gonna be interesting. But Italy has been in really um, forward pressing to press flag
yeah,
football forward.
yeah, yeah. And
And
and, and also, I remember we talked about this on the international podcast we had last week, and I agree with those guys saying that Italy is probably the worst team to play when they have the momentum going for them.
yeah,
I
I
remember
mean,
in 2019. Did you guys play them in 2019, or
yeah,
were you
we
in the
did.
group?
No, we played them,
Yeah,
and I mean, to be fair, they were the most fun team to play against because I think that was the last game for the day, and we were just so tired that day because we're so not used to the warm weather in
yeah,
Israel. So I think both Italy and us in Sweden were so tired. So we just had fun with it because we
yeah,
we knew we couldn't beat them. Uh, but but that way we kind of like relaxed a bit more. So and we actually performed better since we didn't have this anticipation and being tense in our body because
yeah.
of the pressure. So we actually played really good against Italy, if I recall, and it was the most fun game I played that championship.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put you guys on a spot here. Uh, See what your answer is. If you were to take the 10 best players in Sweden, and I'm not gonna ask you to name those 10 players. That would be unfair. Unfair to the other 8 guys. No, but seriously, if you were to take the 10 best players in Sweden on an international level, where would you rank that team?
uh,
Okay, let me give you like 3 levels here. Like level 1A would be the US. Uh, let's put Denmark in there. Let's put uh, Austria, as always, in there, and maybe let's for the fun of it put like Canada and Mexico and maybe Panama in there. That's level one. The mid level would be like, oh, I don't know,
I
Spain,
think we're about the
Italy,
same as
Israel.
Great Britain. That's where I would put us. I think we could.
Yeah,
The
Yeah,
best of our squad could be the best GB squad.
yeah,
yeah,
I
for sure.
sincerely believe.
I mean, back in 2017, I think that was the best national team we have put forward for a very long time,
yeah.
and it was mostly Uppsala Sixers players with like a dash of Eskilstuna players and a dash
I
of
think I think I
like
think there were like
one
five
Norrköping player.
five other players from other teams on that team,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
and in 2019 we didn't have that at all. We had like one, I think three, four guys from the previous national team being present, um, and we
Yeah,
didn't have that that
one
good
of
of
them
a
was
preparation.
there. One of them was there as a coach as well.
Yeah,
So
so uh, if we got the top player, 10 top players as a national team right now, I would say we would place top middle. I really believe that.
yeah, yeah, I agree with you. On a good day, uh, the top 10 players in Sweden are up there. And I'll put my shin out on that one, and I'll actually stand for it as well. So, but if we flip the coin and look on the women's side, and same question.
I think our women's squad is. How do I phrase this? I think their best players are better than our best players compared to whatever they're playing. Uh, I think that is how I'll phrase it. So if you compare the best women we got, let's say Marre, for example, who's the quarterback. She wasn't in Israel, but she's most likely going to be a quarterback. Uh, she is tremendous. Like she's really stellar, and I think she'd do really well in a international comparison.
Yeah.
And the best players, I think, as well. If they get like the best squad going, I think people are going to be stunned about how well they play.
Yeah. Well, we played in the like Sweden and Finland have this rivalry, and every year we play something that's called Finnkampen.
Yeah.
And I was the in intermittent is it called that? Intermittent head coach of the men's national team when we played that game because I was injured, so
Yeah.
I took that spot. And during the ladies game, I actually was the offensive coach, and
Yeah.
Marre was really easy to coach, and she listened, and she really took the pointers I gave, and she just applied it instantly and just made the
Yeah.
whole team better. So
Yeah.
I think if she's at the helm, the women's team really got a chance to like
Yeah.
beat some top teams.
Yeah. I mean, any given Sunday, I guess it's called that for a reason.
Yeah.
And also I think that we haven't really mentioned a lot about the women's side of flag football in Sweden, but I think we're gonna have to have a special episode about that and invite some of the ones who actually know. Maybe their new national team head coach, or new, he's actually had the position for over a year now. If he is prepared to speak Danish, English, Swedish, whatever you want to call it. But no, I think we're gonna have to have a special episode for that, because there are other people that have better insights into that. But from what I gather, there's more competition on the women's side now for the national team, which is good. They have a lot of players that want to learn, want to experience more, which is what you said we have on the men's side more and more, that more teams want to go play international tournaments. I mean, it's a shame that COVID actually struck for many reasons, but for one reason is I think it cut off one leg for Swedish flag football, if you know what I mean. Would you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Yeah, it made everything break. Like some player, I know some players that lost interest in the sport. So
Yeah.
it's too bad, but it's not much you can do about it. You just bring new
Obviously,
people.
you can see it in the numbers as well as the people who are played. I think 2019 the number was at 290 players, and I think last year, obviously the official number was something like 200, but that number was low end because they didn't include all the teams. But I think maybe let's just call it 220, 230. There's a drop off of 60 players. I think obviously that's going to have an effect, and I think this year as well, it's going to have an effect because it's been such a long break. We haven't played since September, and we're going to play August. So it's been almost a year without any steady playing, and teams haven't been practicing because you're not allowed to. But who knows? Maybe we weren't really in that lockdown that most other countries were in during 2020, but it's been much harsher in 2021, which could mean people are like itching to get back, so they want to do something, and they figure, all right, I'll just play flag. So I know people, and I want to get out and stuff.
Yeah.
So that might bring some people back. But I think obviously we did lose some last year, so the assumption would be it's difficult to grow the sport if you're not allowed to go outside, you're not allowed to meet people, you're not allowed to talk to people. So I think that must have an effect, right? People aren't just going to stay around forever.
True.
And I mean, looking at the situation, I mean, we haven't really started our season yet, and there's other countries that have already finished their season. I think a few weeks ago I looked at the Spanish league with their finals. So that's also going to have a really weird effect on the national teams, I guess. But,
yeah, they get a ton of time because, as I said, if our season ends in September and they start up national work after that, it's October in Sweden, which means you could play outside, but some fields are going to be closed because they need to sod them and treat them for the winners so they stay safe. And then obviously there's a number of fields, as you said, as we talked about before, indoor fields, but those are limited as well. So I mean, it's a tough task because you got to get people to sign up. You got to get people to play during that part of the year when it might not be that fun. And then obviously it's last time we went to Israel, it was, or I didn't go, but the team that went, it was an expensive trip. And from what I've heard, it might be even more expensive now, given that you've got the restrictions and the flights and stuff. So I think whatever team ends up going might not be the primary team, but I think that's going to be for every country. I don't think there's a country that's going to stay unaffected by the situation as it is.
Probably not. Well, so what's the next thing for the Uppsala 86ers right now? If we start with your team,
practice. First official practice is lockdown.
Yeah, tomorrow is our first official practice, so we can be more people, like meet up with the team again and play some flag. Right now we're only practicing one time a week, but we're looking to expand that in the near future to 2 times a week. So we really get to prepare for Sport Bowl that's coming up.
So that's the next big thing, right? Sport Bowl.
Yeah.
We could sort of maybe tease a little bit that we might be having something in the loop for end of July, depending on how things shake out. So that's a little tease, but obviously internationally it's going to be Sport Mundo. That's the big thing that's coming up. But then we'll see how that works out as well, because I don't know if we're going to be vaccinated by that time and traveling and so on and so forth. Because they put it fairly early in the summer, which means this it's going to cause a bit of a mess.
What I heard right now is that you either have to be vaccinated with 2 shots, or have a test that is less than 72 hours, a clean test that is less than 72 hours old to travel into Denmark. But that's what they say right now. I don't know what it's going to be in August.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it works out. Because I mean, it's also, if you haven't gotten the vaccine and then you're going to go there and there's 40 teams. If you count elite and leisure and women's side, 40 teams. Let's say every team has got 10 players each. That's 400 people. If you haven't gotten the vaccine by that point, you might want to make some risk calculus on whether that's a worthwhile trip. So I think there's going to be some other aspects of that, because the Swedish vaccination goal is that everyone should be vaccinated by September 5th, but they keep pushing that off. They've pushed it off like 3-4 times.
I think it's even October now.
Yeah, so we'll see. That's what I'll say.
But
hopefully we can.
We're aiming to play in Sportmundo for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually also going to be in Sportmundo Bowl this year for the first time, not with a Swedish team though. So it's kind of strange. I'm going to be with the Black Widows from the UK.
That's like a pick and mix team, right?
Yeah, and I actually got a message from Andrew, who's the head coach, saying, "Can you push for it? We need players. So if anyone want to go to Sportmundo Bowl and don't have a team, just give us a call." It's a mixed team that our play style is based on whatever players we got. We're gonna do a lot of dual quarterbacks this year, I think. So that's gonna be interesting. So
he's just telling on all their strategies, just telling everyone.
We're gonna play like this. And
he's like, I'm not on the field. I don't care.
Right here. So now. But it is a fun tournament, and it's the closest thing to a big tournament that many Swedish players ever going to get to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's become huge. It's this big thing now, especially with all the international teams coming. Usually, it was just you got the one German team in Waldorf, and then you got a couple Swedish teams, and then the Danes. But now you got everywhere coming, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I remember last year there was one team from Switzerland, one team from Spain, I think. So it's and this year it's team from Spain, France, UK, USA.
Yeah.
As I said,
we're starting to get really like a premier tournament for the top teams. Well, I've played on that field like I think 8 times now. So I know my way around that field for sure.
At this point, the Swedish home away from home.
Yeah, it's super windy, so I mean it's basically home, right?
And those showers are just famous in Swedish flag football.
Yeah. Those are not nice showers.
I'm gonna put a disclaimer on that. I've been involved in a shower incident with any Swedish player on.
This is if you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess. I remember when there was like 8 teams at that tournament, and now there's 40 teams. So
it's crazy. It's just expanded, but it's like one of the best. Martin that hosts it does a great job because it's one of the best ones in terms of just the way they administer it, and all from everything from streams to being able to buy supplies to getting food and stuff. And obviously Copenhagen is a sweet town, so it's like a good place to be as well. And you got all this this area around as well, which is quite nice. So it's a delightful tournament. It used to be a little plucky tournament at the beginning of the season, but now it's turned into like a behemoth.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we gotta start to wrap things up here. We gotta keep some what do you call it? Subject for next episode and the episode after that. I really right now I don't know when the next episode's gonna be. I think we said we would make it like once a month until the season starts to just see, and we'll have to talk about what the topic for the next podcast would be. But so Eric, want to make any shout outs before we push the button to end the broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, not any shout out, but shout out to my team. I'm looking forward for tomorrow for the practice. And if you're a Swedish speaking listener, just go and check out Flag Fotbollspodden. It's a Swedish podcast that me and Sunday is involved in and making. So check that out.
And you, Sunday? Any shout out?
No, I want to thank my wife. No, I'm just fine. I no, just to all the Swedish flag football community. Y'all rock and make it fun. So cheers to that. And other than that, yeah, check out the other pod. It's good fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll say the same. It's been great having you guys on to actually see you. It's been over a year since I actually saw one of your faces. I think it's been.
I'm on Instagram, so you can just go in there.
I know, but this is more fun without a football. So, but yeah, shout out to the Swedish community. I hope to see you soon on a field, hopefully close by. And yeah, actually, as we said, we'll see how the season goes and when the season starts, and we'll just take it from there. So, thanks everyone for watching and listening, and thanks to my I'm gonna call you co-hosts because that's the way it's gonna be for contributing, and see you guys soon.
Yeah,
Hey.
see ya.
All right, bye.